LinkedIn presents.
Good morning. I'm Michael Kovnat, and this is the Next Big Idea Daily, where we unpack the best new nonfiction, one big idea at a time. Now, if you've ever felt like you're too old, too busy, too introverted, or too imperfect to make real change in your life or in the world, today's episode is for you. In 2012, Shannon Watts was a self-described suburban mom with no background in politics. A decade later, she had built Moms Demand Action into one of the most powerful grassroots movements in the country. So how'd she do it? In her new book, Fired Up: How to Turn Your Spark into a Flame and Come Alive at Any Age, Shannon shares the mindset and the formula that helped her overcome fear, doubt, and burnout to become a leader and a passionate change maker. Whether your goal is to start a movement, jumpstart your creativity, or just figure out what it is you want out of life, Shannon's here to show you how to tap into your power right after this quick break.
From LinkedIn News, I'm Leah Smart, host of Everyday Better, an award-winning podcast dedicated to personal development. Join me every week for captivating stories and research to find more fulfillment in your work and personal life. Listen to Everyday Better on the LinkedIn Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Shannon Watts, founder of Moms Demand Action. I wrote Fired Up: How to Turn Your Spark into a Flame and Come Alive at Any Age, because everywhere I go, people ask me the same question. How did you, a mom with no formal background in politics or activism, start one of the largest grassroots organizations in the country? It's a fair question. As an introvert who struggled with severe ADHD and a debilitating fear of public speaking, I knew little to nothing about politics, organizing, or gun violence when I started Moms Demand Action in 2012. This is not exactly the description of someone people would point to and say, she should take on the most powerful, wealthy special interest that's ever existed. And yet, that's exactly what happened. Despite a myriad of imperfections and a lack of preparedness, I stepped up. In the face of obstacles that seemed insurmountable, some I'd constructed inside myself over a lifetime, others built by society, I persevered. In spite of my fear of public speaking and stepping into the spotlight, I summoned the courage to put myself out into the world. The result? I led an army of fed-up Americans into battle against the gun industry for over a decade. Together, we passed hundreds of gun safety laws, stopped the gun industry's agenda in state houses 90% of the time, elected thousands of candidates who supported gun sense reform to office, including our own volunteers, and passed the first federal gun legislation in a generation. Turns out, this neurodiverse, reserved, middle-aged mom in the Midwest was exactly the right person for the job. During that journey, I figured out a formula for what I call living on fire, a metaphor for personal transformation, not the kind of transformation that makes you more youthful or famous or wealthy, but an internal shift that will help you see two things more clearly: what's limiting you and what's calling you. I call this the FIRE formula. It helped me find the courage to end my marriage, reimagine my life, and eventually start Moms Demand Action, which has also become the world's largest field experiment for helping hundreds of thousands of our volunteers, mostly women, mostly moms, understand what makes them come alive. The activism of Moms Demand Action volunteers didn't just transform the issue we were working on, it transformed all of us personally. Most volunteers come into the organization because of a shooting tragedy or because their kid had to endure a lockdown drill. But suddenly, when they're working on something they're passionate about with other people who support and encourage them, they realize they have a unique set of skills and clear values to guide them as they unlock their dormant desires. They're able to access a reservoir of untapped power that gives them the audacity to become what I call a fire starter. Someone who makes the choice to prioritize their desires over their obligations. Those things will differ from one person to another. For some, it might mean being more open to new experiences and relationships. For others, it could mean bringing new energy or more intensity to the things they're already doing. For others still, it could mean deciding to pause, slow down, and consciously do less than they were doing before. Living on fire might lead you to do extraordinarily ambitious things, but it also may compel you to finally act on ordinary things that are meaningful to you. I wasn't able to start Moms Demand Action because I'm extraordinary. I was able to start it because I followed that specific fire formula. And over the years, I helped countless people nurture and unleash their own sparks to start fires that transform their lives. While writing Fired Up, I interviewed over 70 fire starters, and what I found is this. Whether their passion was personal, like ending a toxic relationship, professional, like going back to school, or political, like running for office, the same formula helped them discover and pursue their passions, endure the blowback that comes from living audaciously, feel fulfilled, and find their people. I'm sharing 5 key insights from Fired Up to help you figure out what you desire and how to achieve it. It is not surprising that you don't know what you want. Society knows exactly what would happen if we were allowed or encouraged to want. The world would come undone. Without our mental and physical energy propping up the system, governments would fall, institutions would crumble, and traditional family systems would fall apart. To ensure that doesn't happen, society shoulders us with so many burdens and responsibilities, from work to housework to caregiving, that we have little to no room in our lives to explore our desires. As a result, we start to believe that if we haven't yet realized our passion or talent, we must not have or deserve one. This is a phenomenon Dr. Amy Deal, a workplace gender bias expert, refers to as self-limited aspirations. It's what happens when we decide it's not worth the drain on our energy, time, or mental health to take that next step forward. In other words, we decide it's easier to acquiesce than to fight against a system that was set up to make sure we fail. But we don't fear our fire because we're weak. It's because we're wise. We know there's a price to be paid for being someone who wants. We see all the obstacles in our way, from gendered expectations to rigid social norms to economic pressures, and we decide it is easier and safer to stick with the status quo. We learn to keep our heads down and our desires in check. The best way to unlearn that conditioning is to imagine what life would be like if the most important question you asked yourself over and over again was, what do I want? There's a formula you can follow to figure out what you want. After my own journey, which included founding and leading Moms Demand Action, where I helped thousands of women transform feelings of hopelessness or powerlessness into feeling fired up in every aspect of their lives, I came to realize there's a formula everyone can follow to come alive, to build a life from the inside out, not the outside in. This formula is based on the 3 elements of the fire triangle, which represent the elements required to bring fire to life: heat, oxygen, and fuel. For your personal fire, those elements are your desires, values, and abilities. Desire. Your desires are your deepest longings, the parts of you that yearn to be seen, to make an impact, and to be shared with the world. These are the longings that are now ready to be acted on. Because your desires are the heat that activates your fire triangle, it's the most powerful element among the 3. Values. Your values are your personal beliefs and principles that define your priorities, decisions, and actions. It's how you determine what is truly important to you in life. In your fire triangle, your values are the oxygen that feeds your desires. Abilities. Your abilities are your unique mental or physical gifts, talents, and skills. They can be either innate or acquired, and they set you apart from everyone else. In your fire triangle, your abilities are the element that fuels your desires. When these 3 elements are combined in just the right way, just like in nature, you can ignite a fire in your life. This is the sweet spot where what you long for is aligned with the values that ground and guide you, as well as your gifts, talents, and skills. It's an alchemy that can feel like magic, a profound or transcendent force similar to touching the divine. When you go after what you want, you will get blowback. It's inevitable that anyone who makes the conscious decision to live audaciously, to show up differently than they were before, will face blowback. Alarmed by your audaciousness, some will see you and think, how dare they? Their reactions could come across as anger, rejection, disrespect, or ridicule. And that blowback, in turn, is likely to engender feelings of guilt and shame in you. I call these emotions extinguishers because they lead to damaging behaviors, including self-judgment, martyrdom, people-pleasing, and disappearing, all of which threaten to dampen your desire and put out your fire. These extinguishers can make you want to follow the criticism into the familiar, though painful, space of our negative inner voices. It's the double gut punch of negative societal messages that we internalize as personal beliefs. In fact, during my conversations with dozens of fire starters, I found that almost all of the women's most common fear about pursuing their desires is that their children would resent the time and attention it took away from them, turning them into a bad mother. To survive this and other blowback you'll inevitably face, you have to get comfortable making other people uncomfortable. Claiming your space, raising your voice, and choosing your desires over your perceived obligations is inherently disruptive to a system designed to keep us small. But it's ultimately disruptive to society in the very best way. What is the difference between those who make an impact and those who don't? They keep going anyway. When you start to receive backlash, it's proof that you're doing something right. Ultimately, the degree to which you can grow your fire is directly proportional to the amount of blowback you're willing and able to withstand. It's important to remember that all of the criticism you get when you dare to live on fire is predictable, and none of it is personal. You may need to set an intentional controlled burn in your life. Since time immemorial, controlled burns have been considered a medicine that helps to preserve and maintain the ecosystem by lessening the risk of wildfires. This same principle of fire management is as true for your life as it is for the earth. A controlled burn is a way to audit all of the demands on your time, energy, and attention, and decide what to do less of, what to do more of, and what to get rid of altogether. That could be as big as ending a relationship, stepping away from a job, or reassessing how you parent, or as small as giving up a volunteer role that's taking too much of your time, or changing how you consume social media. Controlled burns are practices of self-care that clear the debris in your life and create space for you to unearth the version of yourself that is more authentic to who you truly are. But they are also ways to reform yourself into something more powerful. It's a way to remove things from your life that no longer serve you and, in turn, help you set boundaries that preserve your energy for what you truly desire. Enforcing these boundaries takes practice, but over time, you'll find that you can hold those boundaries more confidently and that you have a stronger connection to your own wants and needs, a lifelong practice that allows you to protect your energy. You deserve to leave a legacy. The word legacy is often equated with big, extravagant gifts or accomplishments, like buildings named after wealthy donors or powerful companies. But I want us to start redefining what legacy means. It should not be about your achievements or wealth accumulation. It's about paying attention to what gives your life meaning and giving others permission to do the same. It's living in a way that assures you won't have regrets at the end of your life. In fact, the most common deathbed regret people have at the end of their lives is that they didn't live a life true to themselves. Your fire may be something in your personal life, like investing more in friendship or getting serious about your health. Maybe it's a professional goal, like making a risky career pivot or asking for a promotion. Or maybe it's politically driven, like volunteering or starting an organization. No matter what it is, when you give yourself permission to pursue what you desire, you stop asking for approval and start building a life that is authentically your own. When your life isn't dictated by what society says you should be or do, you can live fully, audaciously, and authentically. And that is a radical, even political act. You deserve to leave a legacy. to get to the end of your life and know that you burned.
Thank you, Shannon. All right, everyone, you can get a copy of Fired Up at your favorite bookstore or using the link in the episode notes. I'm Michael Kovnat. Hope to see you tomorrow.